So did you know that Psalm 22 was written 1,000 years before Jesus, and somehow it describes crucifixion in detail? Before crucifixion was even invented. Like, how is that possible? This was written by King David, all right? A shepherd turned king who had never seen a crucifixion, never heard of Romans, and yet he writes stuff that lines up perfectly with what happened to Jesus on the cross. And it's not vague writings. I'm talking literally line by line at the forensic level prophecy. And I want to show you that. So give me a few minutes of your time here. So Psalm 22:6 says, "They have pierced my hands and my feet." Now, that's a problem, right? Because crucifixion wouldn't exist for another 500 years. And the Romans wouldn't come around for another 1,000 years, say. So how did David write that? That's not just poetic imagery. That is physical. That is specific. And that's exactly what happened to Jesus. It's insane. Now, when you look at Psalm 22:14, it says, "I am poured out like water. All my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within me." When someone is crucified, the weight of their body dislocates their shoulders and elbows. The chest cavity tightens. The heart muscles, it struggles, right? And fluids build up. That's why when the Roman shoulder pierced Jesus' side, blood and water came out, just like David said. Tell me how a shepherd knew the medical breakdown of a Roman execution 1,000 years before it even existed. It's insane. Now look at this, right? So Psalm 22, 7-8 says, "All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord. They say, let the Lord rescue him." Now jump to Matthew 27, verse 43 at the cross. What does it say? It says, "He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him." They quoted Psalm 22 word for word while killing Jesus, without realizing they were literally fulfilling the prophecy. That's not a coincidence. That's a script. That's prophecy. That's truth. Psalm 22:18 says, "They divide my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing." Now look at John 19:23-24. They said, "Let's not tear it. Let's cast lots to see who gets it." That's Roman soldiers gambling for Jesus' robe, exactly like David said. And again, David's writing is 1,000 years earlier. That means either Jesus orchestrated his own execution to match this ancient poetry, or this book is supernatural. That's two options, the only two options. Now here's the crazy part. Psalm 22 opens with this line, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That's the exact phrase Jesus cried out on the cross. All you got to do is move to Matthew 27:46. Most people think that he was just in pain, right? But back then, if you wanted to reference a psalm, you didn't say Psalm 22. You quoted the first line. So Jesus wasn't just crying, right? He was pointing to the whole chapter. He was telling the people watching, read Psalm 22. This is happening right now. This is me. And this is me being fully separated from God. And guess how Psalm 22 ends? All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to the Lord. They will proclaim his righteousness to a people yet unborn, for he has done it. He has done it. It sounds a lot like it is finished, doesn't it? From beginning to end, Psalm 22, it's not just a song. It's a blueprint. It starts with pain and ends with victory. And every detail in between is Jesus on the cross. Down to the bones, down to the mockery, down to the nails, down to the gambling, down to the cry. So either David, 1,000 years earlier, accidentally predicted crucifixion in great detail and Jesus' death in detail, or God is outside of time and space. And this book is truth and his word. It is exactly what it claims to be. And if he got all of this right, you better believe the rest of the book is worth reading. Psalm 22 wasn't just a prophecy. It was a divine preview of the greatest act of love in human history. And you were in the plan the entire time. What a God we serve. Amen and hallelujah. I'll see you in the clouds.